Good morning, honourable members. Good morning to the officials from the department and the officials from the committee themselves. It is 10 o'clock, so I would like to start. Mardia has flighted the agenda. Could I please ask if there are any apologies, Mardia?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good morning to members and to officials. We have 3 apologies, Chair. Well, actually, we have quite a few apologies. We have apologies from the Minister Meth, Deputy Minister Shabalala, Deputy Minister Sibia. We did send the apologies last week already to indicate that the executive is attending a 3-line whip in the National Assembly this morning. And from members, Honourable Dlamini did indicate that she would be coming late. And we also have apologies from Honourable Mabilo and Honourable Mokoena.
Thank you very much. We do collate, so we can carry on. Members, we will have a briefing by the Unemployment Insurance Fund on its budget, strat plan, and the APP, whereafter it will be questions and answers, and then we will consider the adoption of the committee report on the Chodoma Doma Interpretive Centre, and the consideration and adoption of minutes. And at the end, I would like Mardia to take us through with regard to our oversight visit to the Musina Makado SEZ next week. Thank you very much. Could I then ask for a mover and a seconder of the adoption? Honourable Pienaar and Honourable Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I move the adoption of the agenda as presented.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kennedy.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. I second it.
Thank you very much. When we get to the questions and answers, please just introduce yourself to the officials and the department from UIF. And then could I ask the leader, the DG, to take over from here and take us through your strat plan and annual performance plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning, Chairperson. Am I audible? Is this better? Is this better? Thank you very much. And honorable members of the Select Committee, thank you very much for the opportunity to present the strategic plan, and we acknowledge the persistent service delivery challenges within the UIF, from the delayed payments and outdated systems to limited accessibility to vulnerable workers. These challenges have undermined public confidence and deepened hardship of those the fund is meant to protect. Today we present a plan that is not only strategic, but also operationally grounded on measurable.
Sorry, can I just interrupt you for a second? Please, if at all possible, stick to the time that was given to you, because we've got a lot to go through.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. The UIF will take the committee through a detailed operational plan that will also show some measurable impact in terms of the progress that we're actually making in that regard. With that being said, I'll hand over to the Commissioner of UIF, who will then delegate the responsible person to take the committee through the presentation. Please be mindful of the time frame. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG, and thank you very much, Chairperson and honorable members. We've got 2 sets of reports that we're going to do. The strat plan itself is going to be presented by our Director, Monitoring and Evaluation, and the financing of that strat plan is then going to be presented by our CFO. Colleagues are mindful of the time as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, the honorable members, greetings. Chair, I'll just zoom straight to, in the interest of time, I'll be taking you through the presentation of the strategic plan and the annual performance plan for 25-26, and also highlight on the strat plan for 2025, and then all the way to 2030. This will be our focus area, as the Commissioner has indicated, the MTDP that has been approved, the government priorities that we'll be focusing on, and also our inputs towards our contribution to all those priorities, and then it will be followed by the budget and the clean audit, as well as the progress in terms of how far we are in the road towards the clean audit. The next slide, on slide number 6, the next slide. Yes. These are the priorities that we'll be focusing on, and also our inputs. Priority number 1 being the inclusive growth and job creation, which is aligned to our chapter 3 of economic and employment. And then the strategic priority number 2, reduce poverty and tackle the high cost of living, which is focused on chapter 11 of social protection. And then lastly, on the capable, ethical, and developmental state under strategic priority number 3, which is aligned to the NDP chapter 13 and 14. So this will be our focus areas towards our inputs towards these 3 priorities. The next slide. On priority number 1, inclusive growth and job creation, we'll be focusing more on our temporary employer-employee relief scheme, which is the process, it is done through the CCMA, where we are responsible to assist the companies that are distressed, where we are contributing towards their salaries. And then the other one will be on labor activation program, where we are training the participant towards the employability programs. And then lastly will be on the job creation, where we are saying all training opportunities that are funded through the lab should result in the employment. And then on priority number 2, Chair, here our focus is on business operations, where we are processing and the payments of our benefits claims, all the benefit type. Priority number 3 will be focusing on the fraud and corruption, the vacancy rate. So I'll provide the details, Chair, on the other slide. Next slide. On the next slide, Chair, we just to show how we performed on the last administration from 2019-2020 to 23-24. These are our trends in terms of our performance. Slide number 12, so that I zoom straight now to the indicators, Chair. This is priority number 1, as I indicated, we'll be focusing on the temporary employer-employee relief scheme. The first one will be 1,700. And then the 5-year target that has been approved in the medium-term development plan, it is for us to make sure that we achieve the 1 million employment opportunities, which I indicated that they will result in the job creation. And then the second one on the temporary employee relief scheme, the process is run through the CCMA, where our part is just to receive the ruling from CCMA, and then we make sure that those companies that has been approved through the CCMA adjudication committee gets approved, and then the money gets paid within 20 working days. Currently, we are sitting at 46%, but we are trying towards the 95% by the 5 years. And then also part of the employability program on the beneficiaries, we are saying the participation on the vulnerable group, we need to make sure that women and youth and people with disability also benefit in all these programs. And then our target will be to make sure that 92% of those beneficiaries that will be recruited through the employment programs, 92% at least form part of the groups. And then on the number of jobs created through the UIF, as I indicated in number 1, that all those beneficiaries post their training, they will be guaranteed that they will be employed in the employment. So what has been approved currently on the MTDP for the next 5 years it is 67,000 jobs. And then lastly, on priority number 1, it will be to increase support provided to business enterprises, SMMEs, and cooperatives. This one, we do it through Productivity South Africa, where we sign the service level agreement, and then we provide them with the funding, and then they deal with the application, and then support all those companies that will be needing the support. What we get from our side, it will just be the report, the proof of payment, or the proof of support, together with the reports, to ensure that companies that are supported, indeed, it is in line with the service level agreement that should have been signed. The next slide, this is just the breakdown in terms of the MTF period towards the 5 years. On the TERS application, like I indicated, we are processing the claims post the ruling by the CCMA. Will be the baseline, you are sitting at 46%, but you are targeting this financial year to be at 80%, and then the next financial year will be 90%, and then the following year will be 94% towards that 95% for the next 5 years. The other one will be the number of beneficiaries participating. 25-26, which is the current financial year, we are hoping to do 240,000, 200,000, 250,000 towards that 1 million that I stated in the in the previous slide. And then just to mention that this 240,000 does not include only the beneficiaries participating, also the teacher's assistant will be reporting on this number as well, as already the funding has been provided. And then on the jobs created, the 67,000 that has been approved through the MTDP, that is also the breakdown. And then the vulnerable group, this will be our target towards the 92% that I stated in the previous slide. And then the number of business enterprises will be 90, 100, and then 110 towards the 500 that has been approved for by 2030. So this is priority number 1. I'll be going to priority number 2, as indicated that this is the business operations where we pay our claims and then we finalize all our claims. So the first one will be to focus on the company registration. As per our legislation, does state that we need to register the employers and employees so that they are able to contribute. So there we are issuing the companies with the registration document, those that are coming to register. And then the second one will be now the benefits payment of all the claims that are processed. And then the other one will be the turnaround to approve or to finalize all the claims that are coming through the labor centers, your unemployment benefit, your in-service benefit, and then the deceased benefit as well. Maybe let me go to the next slide to show the breakdown in terms of how we've broken this down towards the MTF period. The first one being the company registration, the payment of the benefit claims. We are seeing all the claims that are finalized and processed where all the documentation has been received. We are able to pay those benefit claims within 10 working days. And then we progressively going towards the 100%. The 90% is still our base. And then the next one on the benefit types of claims. What we've incorporated here, we've incorporated both the valid and invalid unemployment claims, or all our benefit claims, so that when we report on a quarterly basis, we are able to draw the picture of all the claims that has been received. Because previously, we were reporting on the valid claims to say, these are the valid claims, but there will be the outcry on the ground to say, but people are not being paid, people are not being serviced. So we'll be breaking down these claims into 2. You'll see the valid claims, those that came through, and they have all the valid documentations, and then all the invalid claims where they still documents that are still missing. You'll also have a picture in terms of the entire population to say This is where the outcry is, where these invalid claims, they don't have supporting documentation. So now we'll be reporting on the entire population for all the benefits claims for both valid and invalid across all the benefit types. So this will be our contribution towards priority number 2. And then priority number 3, which is the last one, it is focusing on administration, on the clean audit, the complex cases, and the vacancy rate, so that we are improving towards the clean audit. The first one is to improve the audit opinion obtained from the auditors. We want to implement all the action plans that have been identified through the AGSA findings. We want to implement those 100% by the 5-year target. Currently, we are sitting at 75%. And then we want to improve the resolution of cases, fraud and corruption, where we are saying the cases should be finalized as soon as we receive them. We categorize them into complex and then simple cases as well. We want to be at 95% by the 5-year period for the complex cases. We want to be at 100% for those cases that are simple and straightforward. And then lastly, we want to improve human resource capacity, where we want to reduce the vacancy rate to less than 5.2%, which is the current mandate from the DPSA. We need to keep our vacancy rate at less than 10%. But by the 5-year period, we want to maintain, to keep this vacancy rate at least at less than 3% at any point in time. Just to break down them again into the MTF period, on the next slide, this is how we are going to progress in terms of the audit action plans implemented. 25-26 is 90%, and then 26-27 going forward all the way to 2030. We are saying all 100% of audit action plans needs to be implemented. And then on fraud and corruption cases, both simple and complex, we also want to improve from 90 all the way to 95% in the next 5 years. The next slide. This is the vacancy rate, as indicated that we want to reduce this to less than or equals to 3% by 2030. 25-26, this current financial year, will be reducing it to less than 7%, the following year to less than 6%, and then 27-28 to less than or equals to 5%, which is the build up for 2030 to less than or equals to 3%. Chairperson, this is the annual performance plan as well as the strat plan for the next 5 years. I think I'll hand over to the CFO for the budget. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, Honorable Members, DG. I will then take you through our budget for the MTF period, starting with our revenue members. So, as you know, UIF does not get its funding from the fiscus, but it is collected through the employers and employees of this country. So in terms of our projections for our contributions over the MTF period, for 2025-26, in terms of the contributions, we are projecting a 26.7 billion. And for 26-27, it will be 27.9, as well as the other, the last year being 27-28, it will be 29.2 billion. So in terms of our total income members, being mindful of time, I'm not going to dwell much on each line item. But if you look at the different line items that makes our income, so it will be made up of our contributions. There's also revenue that we also collect, as part of interest and penalties where there's non-compliance by the employer to pay the contributions on time. Then you also have an investment line item there. This is the revenue that we generate from the investments that we invest with the PIC. So these are the projections over the MTEF period. So in terms of the total income that we are projecting for 2025-26, it will be 36.4 billion. And then 26-27, it is 38 billion. And then 27-28, it will then be 39.9 billion. What I must also indicate, members, is that we also work with our actuaries who would then, look at the experience in terms of how we have collected the contributions in the previous financial year, and then we'll also project looking at the gross domestic product. So if I would then continue to the next slide. Right. So if we look at this slide, members, so this is our projected budget. But we also wanted to show members how we have performed in the previous financial year. So if you look at the top part of the presentation, so we've broken, the first column would then be talking to the actual expenditure that was incurred in 2024-25 as compared to the budget that we set ourselves, as well as the actual the variance. And then we further project for the MTEF period. So if you look at program 1, this is more of your admin program where we then break down in terms of our expenses, as you can see, having been broken down there. So it will be more on your admin program. There you'll note that we had underspent there. We had set ourselves a budget of 3.9 billion. And we only spent 2.2 billion. So that also includes the compensation of employees and other programs there, which also includes CAPEX. Then if we look at program 2, that's where we're paying for our benefits. That's our benefit core mandate of the fund, where we pay for all the UIF benefits. So there, again, you look at the budget, it was 22 billion, and then we spent 21.8 billion. There's an underspending there of about 164 million. And then if we then look at the other program, being program 3, being the program where we talk about the labor activation program, there we did not really perform very well, members. As we can see, the budget that was set was 9.9 billion. However, we had only spent 1.2 billion. And I will also give the reasons for that, is that especially under the labor activation program, there were delays in terms of finalizing the proposals that were received from the service providers. I think management looked at the gaps that were there at the time and wanted to implement additional controls to ensure that the companies that are then approved to do the labor activation programs are credible and will be able to deliver. So there were those delays. Hence, you then see the huge underspending there. However, we are very positive that in the current financial year, we will be able to spend. So even starting at the top now, when we are looking at our projections for the current financial year, being 2025-26, you will also note there that on the special program 2, we have also increased our budget there so from a 22 billion in the previous financial year, it is now 23.4 billion. So this is mainly on the claims payments. We have put processes in place, members, to ensure that we deal with the backlog that we had, I think in 2023-24, where we were unable to pay for our benefit payments on time. So we have put processes in place. There was an improvement again last year where we exceeded the budget, especially on the benefit payments. We paid all the claims that we had, and we are going to continue, members, to ensure that we provide better service to our people. Then program number 3, on the labor activation, again, members. So our budget, in as much as in the previous financial year, the 9.9 billion was not spent, we had a huge underspending of 8.6 billion. But again, this financial year, we had allocated 11 billion for the labor activation programs. As my colleague earlier on also indicated that in that 11 billion, we've also catered for the teachers' assistance program, which is already set at 4 billion. We also have other programs that we are going to then roll out, which have already been rolled out, or rather we started rolling them out in the first quarter of this financial year. So we are very positive, members, that we will be able to spend all that budget. So over the MTEF period, you will also note there that on labor activation, so the budget there, we're starting to normalize again to an 8.2 billion and 8.5 billion. So there are projects that, you know, are short-term in nature. Some are 6 to 12 months, some are up to 36 months. So the budget is based on those line items, members. What I must also indicate, members, is that when it comes to benefit payments, we're also working with our actuaries who then, you know, look at the experience in terms of how we have paid the claims in the previous financial year. We also work with the stats, or they will also consider the statistics from the Stats SA. There's also other extrapolations that they would then factor in terms of coming up with the projected benefits payments. So we are confident, and we have, you know, the budget, the enough budget for us to be able to pay for our benefit payments. Without wasting your time, members, I think what we've tried to do in the last, second part of the presentation, it's just to break down the top part of the budget so that we then demonstrate to members each line item of what makes the budget. So if I would just take the members just on 2025-26, so if you look at the total budget there, at the top column, we are talking about 38.4 billion, which is further broken down in terms of compensation of employees, being 3.2 billion, goods and services, 4 billion, capital expenditure, being 1.1 billion, benefit payments, 19 billion, labor activation, it's 10.9 billion, so the total is 38.4 billion. Next slide. I will not dwell much, members, on this slide. Members had requested that we also present to the members the budget per province. So how we normally budget, for provinces, we only allocate the budget for accommodation, the cleaning of offices, contract workers, but the allocation of benefit payments, the labor activation budget is centralized at head office. So this budget is just to ensure that the provinces, you know, they are able to run their operations, but when it comes to other key payments, that budget is centralized at the head office. Next slide. Members, on this slide, we are just giving you a flare of how you know, the benefit payments were incurred in the last financial year, being 24-25. We broke them down in terms of the region. So I spoke about an 18.7 billion that was paid towards the benefit payments. So this is how it is broken down per regions. Our biggest, cost drivers will be Western Cape, KZN, as well as Gauteng. So those are the big cost drivers. Without wasting your time, members, I think we can then move to the next slide. I'm not going to dwell much, members. We have already spoken to this slide when I was just giving you the summary, but more just to emphasize on what the admin expenditure was going to be doing in terms of ensuring that we accelerate service delivery. We are going to procure kiosks. We are procuring buses that we are going to use them as our mobile labor centers to ensure that service delivery is offered to our people. If we can then just skip this program 2 I spoke to in terms of our benefit payments, and then program 3, that's where I spoke to the labor activation program. Slide, can we move to the next slide, where we are now talking about the audit action plan. Members must indicate that in the previous years, we've been struggling, to resolve some of our qualification, especially on the issue of the unlisted investments. We currently having about, as I had indicated, we are currently investing with the PIC. So in our investment mandate, it is broken down, or rather we have diversified our investment portfolio. So we have listed investments, unlisted investments, we've got bonds, we've got all money markets. So where we currently struggling, it's on one area being under an area of unlisted investments, where we had invested in unlisted companies, where we were providing those companies with funding with an aim of ensuring that they create employment. They are going to then pay back the money to the fund, but the main aim, we normally call these social responsibility investments. However, we find ourselves with a challenge where we were unable to account for those investments in terms of the generally GRAP standards, being the generally recognized accounting practices. In that these companies, some of these companies are under liquidation, some of them are under business rescue, as you have heard of your Daybreak. So those are some of the companies that where we have invested in. So if a company is under business rescue or it's under liquidation, we are not able to get the financial, audited financial statements from those companies, of which the GRAP standards requires us to use audited financial statements. So that's where we are unable to resolve those qualifications, because we rely on these companies to submit to us audited financial statements. As I had indicated, when the company is under business rescue, they are not obliged to submit audited financial statements. What we normally use is management accounts, but the Auditor General does not have reliance on those management accounts because we were not able to verify the source data from those companies. So we've been struggling, members, with these unlisted companies. However, we are working with the PIC to ensure that we come up with a way of trying to verify the information that is with these companies. We are also using the valuation reports, which are done by the experts, that would then enable us to fully account for those unlisted investments. Next slide, please. The other area, members, that we've been struggling with is under the COVID TERS, as we had presented to the members at some point. The COVID TERS payments that were paid during the pandemic 2021, 2020 from 2020, we had paid about 65 billion. So what the Auditor General found was that we could not confirm with certainty that the money that had been paid has been paid to the right companies, to the right employees. So what we are trying to do now, we have appointed companies that would then assist the fund to go and verify the payments with those companies. We have been doing this kind of verification, but considering the magnitude of the work that had to be done, so it had to be done over the years, but we are going to finalize this process in the current financial year. That would then enable us to then resolve on this audit qualification, because we would have visited all the companies that were paid, and we would have been able to then verify that the money was paid to the right beneficiary. In the event that the company had not paid to the right company, we are then able to recover the money that was not paid. We are working with the SIU. As you know, that there was a proclamation that was then issued by the President that the SIU then investigate. We are working with the SIU, we are working with the Hawks, as you have heard even on the news, where the Hawks was able to then assist the fund, and people were arrested, and there were recoveries, and companies have been taken to court. So we are positive, members, that in the current financial year, being 25-26, we would have visited all these companies and would then be able to resolve this qualification. So if I would then just talk about where are we in the current financial year, I must indicate, members, that we are proud, or rather that we were able to submit on time, members. I think in the last 3 years, we were unable to submit the financials on the 31st of May in terms of the PFMA because of the challenges that we had, especially with COVID TERS. But in the current financial year, we were able to submit on time. The audit is currently underway by the Auditor General, and we hope, we are confident that we will be able to finalize the audit in terms of the PFMA, and we'll also be able to table our annual report on time, which is something that we had not done in the previous financial years. But this year, I think we are on the right track. We will be able to then finalize on time. What I can also indicate, members, is that we have processing in place. We are having teams that are currently with teams that are ensuring that the audit findings from the Auditor General are responded on time. We have weekly management meetings where we are then, tracking the progress of the audit to ensure that we close this current audit on time. Next slide, please. So without really wasting your time, members, I think I have spoken to the issues of the unlisted investments and what we are currently doing to ensure that we resolve on all of these, as well as on the COVID TERS payments, that we have, there's extensive work that has been done. As I had indicated, we are working with the SIU. We are also in collaboration with the Fusion Center and the Asset Forfeiture. We have more than 700 cases that were opened and are currently being investigated. We have over 20 convictions that have been finalized by the courts, and over 2.5 billion has been recovered thus far. of the money that was paid. Yes, some of the companies that were verified, the money, yes, was received and was paid to the right beneficiaries. It's only those companies that were identified that have now been taken through the processes of law enforcement. So these are all, or rather all the work that we are doing to ensure that we get a clean audit going forward, members. So we also had a problem when it comes to the prepayments that we were paying, especially on the labor activation programs. As you know, that in these programs, there are stipends that are paid to the learners. So to ensure that, you know, the learners don't struggle with receiving their stipends on time. So what we would normally do was to ensure that we then, you know, upfront pay advance payments to the companies to ensure that, you know, at least that the stipends are paid to the learners, that they don't necessarily wait for the 30 days for the payment of those invoices. So, so we had a challenge where we needed then to properly account for those, but we have since put processes in place to ensure that we fully account for those prepayments, and we were able to resolve the qualification when it comes to the prepayments, members. Next slide. Yes, I think I had spoken to this slide, members. In summary, what I can indicate, members, that we endeavor to ensure that we work towards a clean audit outcome. I think the key issues that we need to deal with is on the unlisted investments that I had indicated, which is a big problem at the moment, but we are working with the PIC. We have also consulted National Treasury to assist us in terms of dealing with this area. We are positive, members, that going forward, we will be able to clear the audit qualifications that we had. I think I'll end there, members. I think the next slide is just more elaboration of what I had already presented. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, colleagues, and thank you very much, Madam Chair and honorable members. I just want in closing just to say that, Chair, thank you very much for this opportunity. And we just want to reaffirm the commitment to this strategy. We just want to say it's not just a blueprint that just got to gain dust and sit there, but this is the one that we wish to implement as we have funded it sufficiently for us to deliver it. But we also want to assure members that we are aware of our challenges as the UIF, that of long queues, that of people that still don't get their money on time. Hence, we are using we are improving our digital transformation to make sure that we reach people with speed. And we furthermore want to make sure that we embody the spirit of Ubuntu in each and every person that we see and every person that we serve. And that will only come when each client is identified as a person, not just as a number. So that's a spirit that we are building within our team. So, Chairperson, thank you very much, and I will go back to the DG with the spirit that the UIF is looking at each person and each number as a human being behind it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson and the honorable members. This is the presentation from the UIF, and as you've heard from the Commissioner, the commitment is indicated from his team in terms of implementing the plans that we have. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, DG and Advocate and the CFO. Unfortunately, from our side, it still doesn't inspire confidence. Do you know what? It perturbs me to continually, for year after year, having late submissions. The claims to, or the delayed job payouts and job claims, and that we cannot verify and the repeated audit issues. And I truly hope that what you've said now, that you're here for the people, that we indeed see from this day forward a change with the UIF. Because the late submission of your reports, I mean, your 23-24 report we've only just seen, that is shocking, and the minister had to write a letter because you did not adhere to the PFMA with regard to that. So DG, Advocate, CFO, I really, really hope that we will experience a change from you, that we will see the reports coming in time so that the members can speak to your APP and your strat plan on time, not a year later. And then what I also would like to say is that what also bothers me is that the repetition from last year, the previous years, and this year dilutes the strategic value of the report. I would like to see the APP drill down into implementation detail, and at this point, all I see is the rehashing of high-level narrative. And that raises a red flag for me about the depth of planning and whether there was meaningful alignment between strategy and execution. And I'll leave it at that, and I will hand over to the members to ask their respective questions, whereafter you will be able to respond. Thank you very much. Honourable Sithole, Honourable van den Berg, Honourable Kennedy, Honourable Pienaar, did you have your hand up? All right, we'll start with Honourable Sithole. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. Let me firstly welcome the presentation as it was presented. But the only issue that I'm having now is that, you know, acknowledging your mistakes or challenges, it does not automatically fix your mistakes. But at least when you say that these are our challenges, but our plans to fix this is this and this, it will be better in that way. The issues of our people getting their UIF money late. It's not. I'm coming from Northwest. My name is Sylvia Lucia Sithole. Now, where I'm staying in Klerksdorp, and I was once a ward councillor. Then a community member come to you and say that, you know what, I've registered my UIF, I'm still waiting. It's a problem. So I hear the latter speaker said that they know their challenges and they know their challenges and the shortcomings. But now, the solutions to those challenges are much important, because at the end of the day, when you are dealing with people, you have to have mechanism in place to make sure that you are proactive instead of what is this word? Reactionary. Now, if we can just assist us on that part, I'll be happy, but I welcome the presentation as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Kobus van den Berg. Now, I have a problem with this report, and I need perhaps Maria. The printed one that we have received seems to be different from the electronic report. So it's quite interesting when
Sorry,
you look
can
at...
I just come in
Yes.
there? We received an updated report rather late. It was emailed to you now as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
wonderful. Now, what's interesting, if you look at the difference between the two reports, so I've been comparing, and for instance, on your reports on page 13, and now I have to try and find it on your previous one. There's a vast difference between your unaudited income for 24-25 against what you in your previous report reported as, where are we now? There, I found it. There we go. 90% in estimated performance, no, 100%, no, sorry, 90% versus in the new report, 46%. Number of beneficiaries participating in employability programs. In your previous report, you reported 360,000, but now it's 28,606. And so it goes on. Let me see if I can, the other one, there we go, 21. In the old report, now I have to find it in the new report. I think it's 19. Percentage of audit action plans. In your previous report, 85% audit action plans implemented, now 34%. This means that the plan we've recently received has vastly changed from the previous. And then the question is, which one is now the formal one? Which one can we use as a committee? On which one do we judge or do we report? How many of these reports are out there? And how easily does the numbers just change like that? I would appreciate if you can give me some clarity, because the way I see it, that we have to re-engage. I cannot react on the information that you are supplying. Then you are reporting on actuaries advising you. I need to know, these actuaries, are they working for the UIF or is it an outside contract? And what amount has been spent on actuaries? You are reporting on your CapEx in your new report, page 23, a previous actual of 34 million, and then it jumps to 1.296 billion, and then 1.261 billion. Now, it seems that the money is being planned to be spent, the way I read your report. I need to know what's the breakdown? What are you spending R1 billion on? We need to know you can't just tell us this is what we want to spend or what we have been spending. If you can give me information on that. And then I go to your page 31. Let's go to the previous one, 30. The unlisted investment, unaudited financial information. But you are not giving us amounts. What is the amount of unlisted companies and what amount has been given to them? I get the idea that we have had a financial feeding fest at the UIF. And now we need to know what the damage is, because the bill has to be paid. How much? Who has been arrested? How many of the executive of the UIF is part of these people that have been arrested? What is the average what's the average period of employment of the executive currently working in the UIF? How many new people are there and how many people have been part of the feeding fest for the last how many years? We need the information. We need to find out if there's change. And that, I think, is for me. Thank you. I'll stick with that.
Honourable Kennedy.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I am Macy Kennedy from Limpopo. Thank you for your presentation. I will start with your priority number 1. Priority under inclusive growth and job creation. so that we understand your growth. The question comes like, how will you, UIF, ensure that your services are accessible to all eligible workers, include especially those in informal employment, or we can say precarious employment? And how will you, the UIF, address the impact of technological advancement as we are living in the world of technology on labor market, including automation and the rise of the gig economy? Gig economy meaning those labor markets characterized by the prevalence of short-term contracts or freelance work as opposed to permanent jobs. And number 3, what are the key risks to achieving your strategic objectives, and how are you, or how will you mitigate this risk? And then the next question is, how will you leverage technology to improve your service delivery and streamline your operations? And the next question will be on your page, is it page 35? I should think so. Yes, under commitments and disclosures. I would like you to emphasize the time frame for processing the claims, because that is a very serious issue. How long does it take to receive benefits after applying? So if you can clarify us about that, I should think that will be enough. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Pino.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, DG and the staff. I must say I was quite impressed with your opening statement, DG, about first and foremost admitting there's a problem. And once we can admit to a problem, we can start to tackle it. However, like my honourable colleague also mentioned, that doesn't dissolve you of what's currently happening at the UIF. And serious concerns have all been raised, and I want to raise a few others. And, you know, I was encouraged, you know, on slide 3, you speak about, I want to read that. Building a state capacity and creating a professional, merit-based, corruption-free and developmental public service. I've sat through quite a few government entity presentations, and rarely do they ever use the word merit-based. So I was, just off the bat, I was impressed with that. But as indicated, there are serious concerns within the department, ma'am. I want you to please share with us a more detailed reason why you did not submit to the AG. We need more information on that. At the end of the day, you are a public entity subject to scrutiny, and without those reports, annual financial reports submitted, you're cutting off our hands to give oversight. With that being said, we must also note, colleagues, that the money the UIF receives is people's money that's deducted every month from their salaries. It's not your money. It's their money you're just holding for them up to and until they are in need of it. Now, with that being said, throughout your presentation, you referred to the submission period or the payment period after submission, or valid. I want to use that word valid because I think you referred to that as well, valid submission, meaning all the correct documentation has been submitted. whether it's UIF submission or TERS submission, looks like it goes anywhere from 2 weeks to about 4 weeks, plus minus, according to your slides there. I want to know, and if you're not able to answer this, DG, it's fine, but I'm sure there's somebody in your team who can answer this question. What would it take for that timeline to be a 48-hour timeline? And I'm guessing, or I want to know, is it mostly an automated system at this stage? And because I'm very sure that the problem comes in when there's has to be human interaction. So how much of the system is automated? How much time are you looking to automate it? And what is stopping you from having that period of 2 weeks turned to 48 hours? Because that must be our goal. That must be the goal for our people. It's a 48-hour turnaround period after a valid submission. So what's stopping you from that? And this is the last point, Madam Chairperson. Program 3, you underspent about 8 billion. As you showed it clearly in your presentation. I was quite surprised to see Treasury actually funding you for this upcoming financial year. I mean, an underspent of 8 billion rand in a program is quite a lot. And are we able to convince Treasury to still fund that program? And I think it was you, ma'am, apologies, I think you discussed this point. The CFO. Okay, thank you. I'm not satisfied with the reasons you gave for underspending by 8 billion. You mentioned, you were struggling with to get the right contractors, and Madam CFO, it's an underspend of 8 billion rand. I need a lot more clarity of why you underspent 8 billion rand in that program. Not vague indications, please. Again, it's a critical department, and I think we are entitled to a few answers there. Thank you, Madam CFO. DG, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Modise.
No, thank you so much, Chair. I'm sure it's still morning, so good morning to you and honorable members, DG and the team. Chair, I'm sorry I had to step out, and I'm sure you see Amanda is not yet back. We're still dealing with a very sensitive issue that happened after the meeting yesterday with the gentleman from Mpumalanga. So we're trying to sort it out. So that's why I'm frequently out. DG, from where I am, I'm still trying to check your strike plan from the 6th Parliament against the strike plan now. Because what I've picked up in other departments is that it's just copy and paste, and then you just swap page numbers and all of that. I'm not saying that's what you are doing, because I'm still busy doing that. So that when we speak, it's informed by what you might not have been there, but the previous administration will have said from 20 or 5 years back, and the next 5 years, the plans. So I will not dwell too much on the plans that you have for the next coming 5 years, but I can assure you that in every meeting that we meet, you must be assured that we'll go back to what we said we are going to do, and the timelines that you have put yourself to say, this is what we are going to do between now and September, this is what and then we'll ask you, based on the information that you have provided. For now, I acknowledge and accept the fact that you have given us the plans that you want to do as the department for the next 5 years. However, Chair, I would want to know, DG, specifically, because I'm not sure, I tried to find out the difference between a provident fund and UIF, Chair. I'm not sure what's the difference between the two. Be that as it may be, there's a gentleman by the name of Thuso Motaung from Lesedi FM. Apparently his show, it's a service delivery orientated or related radio show. And time and again, callers will send WhatsApp voice note, will send messages, will call in, will send emails, complaining about different departments. And some of these complaints, he will then forward them to me to say, can Parliament look into the following? And looking at the complaint, assign it to a particular department. I can tell you for free, majority of the people who are calling in are frustrated by labor and employment, especially between the Provident Fund and UIF. And I'm saying this under correction because I don't know what is the difference there. I hope it's the same thing, it's just the terminology. Yeah, I just hope it's a terminology story. But I need, DG, a person that is responsible for either Provident or UIF that I would have to liaise directly with, because we bombard Madia with too much to do. And there are about 5 departments that we deal with as the select committee. And if even to rely on Madia on everything that we need from the department, it's not fair on her. There's the Department of Labor and Employment, there's Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, there's the Department of Trade and Industry, there's the Department of Small Business Development, there's the Department of Tourism. All of those things, we need different information from all of them. And we can't all go to Madia. So I need a person who's responsible for that, because I've got a murray of names here of people who are complaining that you are not paying their UIFs. And when you check the balance, and I always say, CFO, I'm not good with numbers. Numbers irritate me. So when I see numbers, you can get away with it when it comes to me, because I don't go into detail in terms of numbers. But Member Van den Berg and Member Pinar zoom into the numbers, and that's why they're able to tell you that your report, you said you have overspent and all of that. And he calls it what? Festival of what? Feeding Fest. I don't know why he's calling it a Feeding Fest, because probably saw something. So I'm going to have to liaise directly with that person, because there are names that I have here that come from Lesedi FM of people who are frustrated and are angry with their Provident Fund or UIF that have not been paid. And I'm sure if we were to go there, the figures will say all the claims have been paid, blah, 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 whilst we have these people that have not been paid. So that is for me, Chair, on the issue of what I wanted to raise. Everything else, we'll deal with it as and when we meet with the department. And I hope we'll have an opportunity that when we meet, the ministry is here as well, because there are issues of sensitive political nature that we wanted to raise, but it will be unfair to raise them with the administration. Let's leave them for the political heads when they are here, so that they can then go back to the administrators, because they report to the ministry and ministry reports to us. So we'll raise them with the ministry so that they can take it up with the officials. With that, Chair, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Modise. Yes, it's true with regard to the executive, but we did get timely information that they had to attend the 3-line whip today because of the budget schedule. And the other question that I have is also something that the executive will have to answer to, and that is the Public Investment Corporation's reports on the UIF's total portfolio, which is valued at around 169 billion. Now, if you recall, I was lucky enough to serve in this department in the previous parliaments, and I've often asked you to provide us with a list of the unlisted companies where investments have been made. Because since 2014, PIC has made around 61 separate investments. So I want you to go back and start looking into these investments and provide this committee with a schedule of where these investments have been made and what the return on investment has been made. In the unlisted companies, PIC has invested around 24 billion, but we never see anything on what the ROI was. And I think it's time that this committee be taken into confidence and those figures be given to us so that we can see whether public money is being utilized properly. Because we know several of these investments have underperformed, and hundreds of millions of rands have gone down the drain. And again, it's public money. It is the employees' and employers' money that is being invested on their behalf, and they have absolutely no say as to how the department goes about investing their money. So I would just like to have that list so that when we do engage again, that the minister is on par and is able to divulge with us these questions that have emanated from today's presentation. So thank you very much for that, and over to the DG, who will respond, and the CFO, and maybe the advocate. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, honourable members, for the questions that you've raised. I'll just start with the contact person that can have a direct interaction with UIF, because we understand the frustration of the people in terms of not having a focal point. Ms. Malete from the UIF is the contact person, and the commissioner will furnish the details of that person so that we can deal with that issue of interaction. And I do note the other issues, the colleagues will definitely respond to that. On the issue of Program 3, that was raised by Honourable Peter, in terms of the under expenditure, I think to a large extent the CFO indicated why there was underinvestment, but I can assure the committee that this financial year there has been a lot of progress in that regard, especially with the Teachers Assistance Program that the CFO has alluded to. We have paid just under 2 billion in terms of that. But I think in terms of this first quarter, we've seen quite a lot of spending in that regard. But the CFO will go into detail to quantify that in as much as the previous years, we have not been paying and underperforming, it will be different picture this come end of financial year. In terms of the question that was asked, which is a very, very valid question, why we are taking so long in terms of our turnaround times. The challenge is that we acknowledge that it has been very manual driven process, as the honourable member identified. And what we are really imploring the UIF to do is to invest in infrastructure and digitization, and making sure that systems are now efficient and we don't rely on people to upload, because that in itself, that human interference, or that human interface, there's elements of error, etc. So when you digitize and automate, that is going to be very efficient in terms of even processing of claims. Not only also in that, it must be also be rolled out. This has been one of the issues that we've indicated to the UIF, that they need to do that the same way by investing in technology, also in the labor centers, so that there's efficiency. What that entails is that it will require the UIF also to increase the capacity from the current 5 megabytes to 10, so that they can be able to then access more volumes of submissions that they actually do have. So I believe that in the medium to long term, we will begin to see those changes, because investing in infrastructure and technology, it will definitely come to that optimal turnaround time, which the honourable member indicated that it ought to be not 4 weeks, but rather 48 hours. But the colleagues, when they respond comprehensively on those, then they can deal with those areas. Also on the, I just wanted just to touch on the, how do you increase? The 1 billion, the colleagues will actually respond to it, probably without waste of time, because the colleagues, they need to provide quite comprehensive responses. I'll hand over to the CFO to answer all the CFO-related questions. And on that issue of the 2 presentations and the discrepancies of numbers, can I also ask the director to respond to them, and also the commissioner to run up on others? Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, DG. If I may then start with questions from Honorable van der Berg. Thank you, Chair. All right. So there was a question on the actuaries, if are they internal or external. These are external actuaries by the name of True South that we have contracted to assist the fund with the actuarial work. In terms of our structure, we don't necessarily have the posts for the actuaries, hence we are using external actuaries. But even our legislation allows us to appoint the actuaries. So in terms of the cost to date, I don't have those figures at the moment. I think we can then provide to the committee in writing. Then what is sitting under CAPEX of 1 billion? So what is sitting there, members, we are in the process of implementing the subsystem. As we have indicated that we are looking at an integrated system that we don't currently have. So by integrated, what do we mean? So it will be a system that links from the operations, from the claims side, interfacing to the financial system and all other, including HR, so that we have one system that we are working on as the fund. So we are in that process of developing that system. So there is budget that has been set aside for that. What is also contained in that budget, currently where we are leasing in that property, but we have our property that is under renovation at Double F Nkomo. So we are renovating that property so that we then go back and occupy that building so that we stop leasing the property. But over and above that, we also set money aside to ensure that we fix our infrastructure, so that, the systems are fixed, our infrastructure, your broadband is also, increased so that the claims processing is faster. So there's a lot that is sitting there, but it's mainly to ensure that we improve our services. So that's where the money is allocated. So again, Honorable Member van der Berg, I'll combine your question with the one of the chairperson up around the unlisted investments. So in your question, Member, you then indicated that why didn't we then disclose the amount on the unlisted investments? If Chair, you allow, I can just give you just a breakdown of our investments as at the end of March. So alluding to what you've just confirmed, Chair, that yes, our asset under management as at the end of March 2025, we're sitting at 169 billion. So as I indicated, so we've invested in different instruments. I'm just going to give you round figures that makes that 169 billion. So 55 billion of that is sitting under nominal bonds. We have 41.6 billion, which is also invested in inflation-linked bonds. Under money markets, we had invested about 15.9 billion. Then domestic equities, which takes a big chunk after the bonds, sitting at 29 billion. Then on properties, it's about, that is property equities, 3.6 billion. Foreign equities, 13.4 billion. Then on unlisted instruments, it's 10.3 billion. Then we have just as another portion on unlisted properties sitting at 303 million. So where the problem is, it's that 10 billion on unlisted instruments. The other instruments, we are not facing any problems in terms of reporting, in terms of returns that we're getting. It's not a problem. However, biggest problem is on the unlisted investments. So as you've also heard from the PIC that there was that in-party commission that was then constituted as a result of those investment in unlisted, because some were found to be having problems, and people that were then involved at the time were then subsequently, taken through the disciplinary processes. So as the fund, I think we found ourselves, stuck and having a challenge there because of the work that has been done by the PIC as far as this part of investment is concerned. Chair, as you had requested, I think we will then provide you with that list on the unlisted investments. Then if I may then continue, members, there was also a question from Honorable Pillay on Program 3, why we had underspent there. What is also contained under Program 3, members, we have 3 programs under labor activation. One would be your TERS, where we are trying to assist companies that are in distress and preventing job losses through the CCMA. So there's money allocated for that program. Then we also have Productivity South Africa that we are also funding, that also assists with turning around the companies. That is also under labor activation. Then we have employability programs, which are, as we had indicated, that there were delays in terms of, appointing companies. And there was a valid reason, members, why we had to delay the appointment of those companies. Given that it's billions that are going to be given to these companies to run with these projects. So we had to ensure that the companies that we finally approve, it's companies that are going to deliver. So we had requested our internal auditors to just look at the process that we're following, and they picked up gaps that we needed to close. So there were issues with due diligence that was conducted earlier on. So if I may also explain the process, how it works, without wasting your time, Chair, is that you'll get, we issue a request for proposals. Companies would then submit their proposals. Then there's a committee that then sits and does the adjudication. So part of that, there also needs to be due diligence that is conducted. But when we looked at the due diligence that was conducted, there were lots of gaps that were identified. So we then had to stall, the appointment of those companies and introduce another leg of due diligence, of which we then called probity, that was done. So we had to ensure that those companies, so these companies had, proposed to say they are going to appoint or employ, these learners after training. So we had to ensure that, there's a commitment by these companies to say they are going to employ those learners after training, and the companies that are going to absorb those learners, they also commit to absorbing those learners on time. So we had to go through that process so that we don't just throw the UIF money and just give it to companies that are not deserving. In as much as in terms of the budget, we did not spend, but we had to do the right thing before that money is then spent. And we really believe that the processes that we have now since put in place, I think you'll start seeing the biggest traction in the current financial year, being 25-26. As the DG has also alluded to that, we've already paid 2.2 billion for the teachers' assistance, of which 4 billion has to be paid. So part of that money is, I would say it's already gone, because it's committed and it's going to be paid. And then we've also contracted a lot of companies, of which they are being monitored as well, to ensure that they deliver according to the contracts. So we are positive, members, that in the current financial year, we will do much better than we did in the previous financial years. So thank you. I hope I've answered you. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Teacher.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'll just address the one on the differences of the figures. I think the presentation that Honorable van der Berg has, it's the one that Honorable van der Berg has. It's when you look at the column, I think you have in the estimated performance. That is what was planned to be done during the 24-25 financial year. But post submission of our report to AGSA, we changed that column to unaudited performance, meaning The difference between, let's take example for the figure you just mentioned, the 360,000 versus the 28,000. The 360,000 on your presentation is what we plan to achieve during the 24-25. But the actual performance is 28,000 against the 360,000. Hence, there's that underspending of 8 billion that CFO is trying to explain and so forth. So the time we're presenting the annual report post the audit, now you will see that estimated performance will be the column. Now you will see the actual performance and the reasons why there's much of a difference. Then it will be explained on the reasons and the corrective measures and so forth. Thank you.
Advocate, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much, members, for the questions. And they make us even more better, more wiser. Chairperson, we must start by saying that I lead a team that is here with me at the UIF site led by the DG. And I want to assure that we know what are our immediate problems, and I think they came out from the speakers that came to say, what is it that is your problem? I think extensively the CFO was trying to speak on the unlisted investment. My two issues that I need to work on to make sure that I eventually get an unqualified audit outcome. The first one is COVID tariffs. COVID tariffs has been a problem since its inception in 2000, purely because we were in the crisis mode, all of us, so we were building as we were going up. So as a result of that, when AG came to audit us, we couldn't account and we couldn't confirm that each money went to the right person. So we had to come with systems as to how do we account for each and every money. So we employed firms of auditors that are going to go to each and every, follow each and every money that was paid. We paid 65.2 billion during that period. That's a lot of money and it's people's money. We must acknowledge that, workers' money. So we owe it to ourselves first to can say that each money went to the right person. So these firms are auditing these companies, and we are now in phase 3 of this auditing, of verifying that each money went to the right person. So where the money wasn't paid to the right person, we then collect this money. I think we have the numbers, how much we've collected, and then we redirect to the right person. In the event that we found fraud, which we found a lot, and we work with the Fusion Center in that space to make sure that we account for that money, and culprits or wrongdoers are sent to jail. And we've got people that are in prison as we speak. I think the highest sentence that someone was put on, it's 20 million, it's 20 years. So that's how serious we take this. But with the Fusion Center, where our SIU as well, the NPA is also involved. That's where, and including the money flows, because when you get the money must go to people, but when people start moving to houses and cars, that's where we pick it up and say, but there is a problem, and then we freeze that. So there are companies that we freeze payment. Up to now, they're still verifying. So that's what we are doing to make sure that each money is accounted for. So until the last cent is accounted for, I cannot close that audit finding. Secondly, on the unlisted investment, as the CFO was saying, that is my main problem as well. We have a duty, and in terms of the law, we must then, through the DG, she must then deposit money to for investment with the PIC. As that happens, and then when we're supposed to account on our financial statements for each money that we've sent out, that's where we don't get the audited financial statement from these companies. So as a result, we are not able to effectively and affirmatively say that the money that we've sent had gone to do that which we have done. We've invested through the PIC to do. And then when we can't have that, it then delays our financial statements as well. But I must also say, and then it is what CFO said, that By 31st May, we have submitted already. We are working on the current one, and we seek to respond on time to it. But more importantly, Chair, the labor activation program. This is a very good initiative. This is, we call it a groundbreaking initiative. That is one of our main problem. Please go to the slide that has a pen. It's, I think, slide number 3 or 4. The labor activation program is broken into 3 aspects. Employability, where we have people that are trained through service providers. Yes, this one. Through the service providers. This is what the CF was saying. We open an advert to say entities that are having capacity, skill, that they can train our South Africans so that they get to be employed. So that is one of the key elements. The employability part is once you train these people, you don't then leave them. They must either be in employment or they must be in enterprise developments that is then able to employ more people. So if you don't have, and it's part of the due diligence that we had to do, is to make sure that we don't get into any contract with any party unless we've got guaranteed jobs. Once we've got those guaranteed jobs, then we can be able to then employ, then enter into an agreement with that partner. And our agreements are always having these exit clauses that in the event that you are failing to comply, we will do that. The last one, very important, Chairperson, on this one is the TERS, Temporary Employer Relief Scheme. This is a very important one, and I've also had Tatem Tuso Mtaung advertising this when we opened for these adverts, and all educating our people on the Temporary Employer Relief Scheme, because these are distressed companies that needs to be saved, companies that do not want to retrench people, but because of the financial challenges on the stagnation of the way they do things. And then the UIF is then able to say, we are going to take care of your wage bill whilst you are reconfiguring yourself, making yourself a business of today. So it runs between 6 to 12 months. So during that time, this company must come with all the turnaround strategy, but key to that is there must be no possibility of retrenching. So if you are retrenching, then we are not going to invest anything there because there's no point. You are retrenching anyway. So there must be that says you cannot. But we also have that BTNR, business turnaround solution that we have with putting money to Productivity SA, which is our entity, that then help these companies to change. You said a lot about us in terms of the digital transformation. How are we responding to the new way of doing business? This is exactly what these other companies are doing. So in terms of us making sure that we are accessible and we are reachable by all our people, we have implemented new measures and they are currently in place. I must also say that in a year, the UIF receives more than 3 million claims. That is why we always appreciate this, but the stressful thing about receiving 3 million claims is that 3 million people would have lost their jobs. And that speaks to the very economy that we are having. But we have introduced, DG says, and I want to amplify this point, we work with CETA as government. And then, so all our procurement for ICT infrastructure is through CETA. And in order for the UIF to respond to the number of claims, then it requires a system that is able to move seamlessly, just like in any insurance company, because we pride ourselves as an insurance company, receiving people's money. And we must say that we are self-funding through this money that we get from our employers. The 1% that employees and employers contribute collectively, this is what then comes to us. So it is therefore important that we are agile to make sure that we respond to each need as it comes. So we have a UIF app. We've got the USSD that we deferred the money to ourselves so that our people, even with the smallest of phones, they are able to access our services. Why? Because we wish not people to come to our offices. But part of our problems is that we pay late, we sometimes not pay, and people come to our offices and wait longer. So we don't want them to come to our offices. Hence, we even brought in our CIO. And Chair, I would wish that when we come next time, we account on the services that we have rendered to our people to show how much are we paying per province up to a regional office. We are able to tell because we have a system that is able to give us the business intelligence now to tell us how are we performing. How an individual sitting in Sishiro, for instance, a client service officer who's sitting in Limpopo who's got 3,000 payment that he had not made. And then we are able to drill it down to that province and say, but please, you need to work on this. And then the necessary steps are taken. But it is true, Chairperson, there is a difference, a vast one, between the UIF and the Provident Fund. We are not the same guy. We are self-funding through workers' money. 2%, 1% from the employer and us. And then a Provident Fund is a decision between an employer and an employee where they come together and say, in the event that I lose my job, I have this fund that I can then tap into in order for me to. But with the UIF, it's by law that as soon as you register, you start business as an employer. When you look at this pen, the one that we have here, in the beginning, we say, as an employer, you must first register yourself with the UIF as an employer. Why? Because we want to know you, and we want to know the people that are working for you. That's why when you look at the one just at the bottom, the second page, second that says declaration there, you register as an employer and then you declare your people. You tell us who are these people that are working for you. And why is this important? Because as soon as we know these people, we are then able to track what is it that we are doing when with these people. But then once you've declared those people, you then tell us, you give us the dues. The 2%, 1% from you and 1% from the employee, you must then give it to us. Because these whole three things are very important for us because when we come to that claim days, we must then be able to honor that claim without delays. So if the employee comes to our office or comes to us through our channels, and then these employees are known to us, now we must investigate if indeed this employee worked for that person. That is the delay. And that is at the time of distress. So that's where we have a problem. So hence, we want an employer to register, declare its people, and make the contributions. Once you have done that, then we get happy that we are able to honor the claim. We will show how many claims that we have processed. And I must say, at a given month, we are paying up to 8, 9, 10 million, and in a single day at the UIF, just to show that. So that is the value chain of how the UIF works. So it's distinct from each other, and we are willing, and I think we have our communication director, Mr. Modise is also with us today. What I want to say as a commitment is that when we have this session again with Ntate Mutaung, we can even come and participate in that session where people are calling in with their challenges. We are able to articulate our program to make sure that once an employee is registered and all these things, we pay for a period of up to 12 months, 365 days. The maximum amount that the UIF will pay you is 68,000. That is for the duration that you'd have worked. Obviously, we pay in terms of the income replacement ratio. How long have you worked, and how much were you earning? We pay at up to the ceiling is 17,700. So you could be earning 18,000, but our 1% is deducted at that 17,700. So anything below that, it continues to be like that. So that's the money that comes to us. So that is why when you then lose your job, if let's say you worked for 4 years, you will get your full 365 days over a period of 12 months. I must explain this, Chair, that the reason we could easily take this whole money and give it to you. But as we know, this is a temporary measure while you are unemployed. So in the course of you losing your job, we hope that you are going to get a job. So while you are not getting a job, every month you must then tell us that you are still unemployed, and then we release your money. So the people that you'll see mostly are returning people. But what we have since done is to make sure that these people do not have to come to our office. They, wherever they are, in the comfort of their homes, they must then send us what we call a continuation form. We have designed a digital one that is able to tell how we are going to deal with those people. But what is even more important is how accessible are we to our people. I must confirm that the DG we have already procured 17 mobile buses. These are offices. It's a 14-meter bus, which is a mobile office on the road. I can also confirm that these buses are currently in production. And why in production is because an ordinary bus that you'll find in the road is 12 meters. So we added the spec so that we have enough computers and enough people that can sit in that bus and be able to check their status for all services of the department, including that of the UIF. So I know that by end of, my colleague has been here since early yesterday because he had to go to the production line to see how far are we with the buses. Already he had confirmed to me that the first 3 buses will get them now in August. So it is very important for us that we reach those areas where our people are not able to go. Not because we want to be on the road, we want to procure, but because we want to respond to the needs of our people. So it is very important, Chairperson, that as we wrap up, the UIF is transforming itself to become a digital platform where our people don't have to go to the office. They don't even have to meet our office. We are reaching a point where we want to know when an employee, let's say a lady that just gave birth, to us, if that person is known beforehand and then is giving birth, and then because we are linked with Home Affairs, we must be able to then trigger the maternity application, not the lady having to come to us. So that is the level that we are moving towards. So we are very much aware of the digital transformation and modernization. So the UIF is modernizing. I think we're working with NEDLAC as well to make sure that the UIF modernize in such a way that it reaches all the touch points to make sure that we are an employer of the future. But also with the labor activation program, what we are now looking at training on is to make sure that we train an employee of the future. Not an employee that the skill is going to be absolute in the next 2-3 years, so it's of no point. So we must train people in skills that are going to survive beyond that. So that's why now we are not taking any applications. But I think, Chairperson, for the interest of time, let me pause here and allow the DG. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I just wanted to also respond to one other point that you actually raised, and Honorable, I think it was Modise, was saying, in terms of the APPs, it should not be a cut and paste until the next year. And I think that's a very fundamental point, that we want to see progress and traction. And I just need to indicate that, especially when it comes to one of the key projects of the unbundling of the UIF, it has been there for the longest of time. So we are beginning to make traction in that regard, in terms of dealing with the systemic and structural challenges that has been plaguing this entity for the longest of time, because it will introduce an element of operational efficiency around that. And we've also made strides in this first quarter, whereby the draft legislative amendments have been finalized and they're currently sitting at NEDLAC. So we're coming to the point, Chairperson and honorable members, where we are saying even collectively that it cannot be business as usual. We need to see traction, we need to see impact in terms of making sure that the reforms that we're trying to put forward, they bring agility and accountability and ultimately respond to an institution that can be client-centric and to be fit for purpose going forward. With that being said, thank you very much, Chairperson and members.
Thank you very much for that. Honourable Nodada, do you have a question?
Thank you, Chair. Good morning. It's still the morning, everyone. Chair, just reminded of something once they talk about modernization of UIF and the mobile service or mobile office, whatever. To my mind, it comes to that there's something that comes to my mind that where I come from, in Mount Frere, Mount Elif, you used to have an office. It was in Mount Elif where my constituency office is situated now because you vacated those offices. That's where my office is there. Now, what comes into my mind is that when you had an office there, all the business people around Mount Frere and Mount Elif were on their toes because your people would come to each one of them, checking whether the employers are paying UIF. But ever since you left there, there's a lull. No one knows anything about UIF. And now my question is, how are you going to deal with the rural areas? I like modernization, but I think that would be perfect to the urban areas and the big cities. But the most rural small towns where even people are ignorant, who cannot use these things that you are going to be using, what is your plan towards them? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that. I see Honourable Kennedy has a follow-up.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. UIF, the employment mandate of the department relies on labor activism program under the UIF. Can you tell us how many was spent under LAP? And how many jobs were created from 2023 to 2025? Thank you.
Thank you very much. If you could respond.
The Commissioner will respond on the question that has been asked by Honourable Kennedy and the question on the inspections. I just want to underscore the point that the department has undertaken an activity whereby we'll be recruiting 20,000 inspectors over 2 years. And we have received applications, and I'm pleased to inform the House that the 10,000 that we committed for this particular year, the progress to date, we've received applications. We've had a client handling whereby the applications were assessed. There was a long list, there was a short list that was provided to the department independently, making sure that people who have been shortlisted are meeting their criteria. They've gone for the assessments, and currently we are engaging with the successful interns whereby we will be having 10,000 inspectors. They're going to be doing exactly what you're talking about, Honourable Member, to making sure that we see visibility in terms of the respective areas. Yes, we understand that probably 10,000 is not adequate, but we also need to also take into account the technology that's emerging in terms of how do we then bring technology to assist to augment this particular capacity. So in terms of that, we are definitely making inroads, and we think it will definitely make a difference. And can Commissioner respond to that question from
Yes.
Honourable Kennedy?
Thank you very much, DG, for the opportunity, and thank you very much, and honourable members. as part of us making sure that all employers are registered as well with the UIF, we have partnered with SARS, the South African Revenue Services, that employers that are employing people in their space, they also register with the UIF. I must also confirm that 98% of revenue collection for the UIF is done through the relationship we have with SARS. So the UIF is doing it the last 2% through the inspectors that DG had made note of. But then I must also add that in this 20,000 that she's talking to, the UIF, because it's very important, arm of enforcement, ensuring that people are aware. The UIF is contributing 70% in the employees, in the salaries of these inspectors to make sure that we are responsive, we are visible, and everybody cannot just flout the law the way they wish. And then lastly, on the labor activation program, I think, Chairperson, I want to ask that how many jobs were created and how much we've spent. This is a very important question for us. We would request, Chairperson, that CFO has the numbers. I was thinking that we are going to do a written response, but she's also agile and then she's prepared to can immediately tell us how much we've spent. But the numbers have drastically increased to make sure that we respond to the needs and address the issue of unemployment. Thanks.
Just to continue where Commissioner left off, so Honorable Member, so in terms of the jobs that have been created, so if you look at the second row, so for 2021-22, 10.2 jobs have been created. 22-23, 8,457 jobs were created. 2023-24 is 5,319. Then 2024-25, it's 28,606. So you also see now the numbers shoot up to 240,000 and 200,000. I think in terms of our AP, of our strat plan for the next 5 years, we aim to create about 1 million jobs under labor activation. So to answer your question in terms of our past performance, there you see it there, and then we also plan for the future. Then in terms of the actual payment, for last year only, we paid 1.2 billion towards labor activation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Are the members happy? All the questions responded to? Okay, thank you very much. DG, with regard to the contact details that Honourable Modise spoke to, could you make it available to all the members? I think it would just be wise should a similar issue arise. And then I'm happy to hear that you're speaking about a turnaround plan and strategy and that you are working towards being one of the entities that South Africans can be proud of. Could you possibly provide this committee with a report on where you stand with regard to the turnaround strategy and by when you will reach certain goals? And then CFO, the companies in distress, if you look at the MoneyWeb article that I read about 2-3 weeks ago, they spoke about at least 12 companies in distress. Would you be able to give us those names as well? And then would you also provide us with any consequence management that took place with regard to that, any recovery plans that are in place, as well as due diligence failures that the committee can also study and be conversant on where we stand on that? And then the researcher for this committee brought to my attention SAPU. You've now assisted SAPU with the Stress Relief Fund. Can you tell us how many were assisted, how much was paid out, and then you also spoke to Proudly South Africa assisting you in such a regard, if I understood it correctly. Sorry? Productivity South Africa, that they assist companies in distress as well as people. If you could just elaborate on that for us, for clarity seeking information. Thank you. If you don't have it offhand, you can provide it in writing.
No, thank you very much, Chairperson. In terms of SAPO, we have managed to give them assistance of 381 million. They applied through the TER system, the CCMA did the adjudication, it was submitted to the UIF, and we've assessed, and that money was disbursed to them. And now we are just, the contract was signed between ourselves and SAPO, and we are now going to be, they've submitted the invoice that we need to be paying to SAPO. The team is currently working on that in terms of verification, and the money will be paid accordingly. So we're quite happy to have supported this entity to ensure that, workers are being, looked after in terms of job preservation in line with the mandate of the fund. So that is the one entity that we looked into supporting. And I'd leave it at that. It is, if
Can I just ask on that, are you in consultation with Communications and Digital Technologies on the period that you would possibly have to carry on paying out, or is there a limit to it, like ordinary payouts for UIF?
Yes, we are in engagement with SAPO. It's a 6-month duration of assistance, and that will be assisting 5,956 employees in that regard. So it is that constant interaction. I'm engaging with the acting CEO of SAPO and also with the department. Thank you.
And the productivity.
Can I provide a written response
Yes, you
on
may.
that, because I don't have the information offhand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I am of the opinion everything has been answered, and we look forward to seeing this entity pick itself up and take South Africa forward, and not again see late submissions, because permission was given last year for late submissions, and 2023-24 report was only received now. So let's see to it that we change it around, and an entity that South Africa can be proud of. And in light of that, we can now excuse the department, because we're just going to be busy with internal procedures and minutes that have to be adopted. And thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Chairperson and honourable members.
Which one are we doing first? Colleagues, if I could ask, while they're moving out, the Khoduma Duma report was sent out to everybody. I take it that it has been read. Could I then ask for a mover and a seconder on that report, or any questions that may arise from the report? Honourable van der Berg.
Thank you, Chair. I believe I'm the only one that can be moving, so that's fine. I'll move.
Thank you very much. And I will second it. Unfortunately, we were only 2 people. I knew you were going to. Otherwise, I would have had to move and second. Thanks, Honourable van den Berg. All right, the minutes and the, just flight it if you can, okay. We have the, what date was it? 16 July, briefing by the Department of Tourism, budget vote 38, the APP, etc., etc. Just check whether your names are spelled correctly, whether you were present, and so forth. And could I ask for a mover and a second on that? Honorable Modise, I know you were present.
I move. I was in a meeting.
Thank you very much.
I second, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Dlamini. And there's nothing else now. huh? Now just your. But it's not on the agenda. What are we going to do about that? No, it's fine. Okay. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we adopted it. Which one? Sorry, we just got some internal stuff here. We did. It's not on the agenda, so we'll have to change the agenda. Oh, I'm not even going
I think the agenda says just, I think it just says,
just minutes.
does it just say minutes? Yeah, it just says minutes.
All right, which one are we doing now?
Oh, it's just the 9th of July quickly.
All right, members, we need to adopt the minutes of the 9th of July. It is, okay, we're going to flight it now just to give you some background, and that was the small business development and the employment and labor budget votes. If we could have a mover and a seconder on that, okay, just things are going okay. All right, Honorable Dlamini, you can't.
I move for the acceptance of the minutes.
Could we please do? What would you like? I couldn't catch what you said.
The date is just ring a bell with me. I'm sure we've approved this one before already. The 9th of July.
We
Or
were
is this-
speaking about it and we were wondering.
Or is this the date that we had the range of meetings on the one day?
Mr. Farmer, looking at, in order for us to have adopted it on the 9th, adopted that minutes, it would have needed to be adopted on the 16th of July. And looking at the minutes of the 16th of July, there was no minutes that we adopted. So no, we didn't. I don't think we adopted the 9th.
We're just making sure, so we'll adopt it twice. Honorable Nodada moves for the adoption, and Honorable Satoli, just for minute purposes, put your mic on.
Thank you, Chairperson. I second the minutes as they are.
Thank you very much for that. And members, the last is our oversight visit to Musina Makadu. And I'm going to ask Maria and Amanda to take us through. Thank you.
Chairperson, first and foremost, will we have flights for this one?
Yeah, it looks like it, yes.
Okay. Mr. Farmer, Amanda's a rock star, so she's got it. She's sorted out, but she will.
SAA, Honorable Farmer.
So so Amanda will provide an update on the logistics, but if I can just take members through the draft program, which was circulated. As Chairperson indicated, we are flying very, very early on next week, Thursday, the 31st of July. I believe everybody's on the 6 o'clock flight from Cape Town to Johannesburg. And then because we need to get the 9:25 flight from Johannesburg to Polokwane, which is arriving in Polokwane at about 10:25. So our first meeting is at 11:30. with the Limpopo Provincial Department of Economic Development, Environment and Tourism, the Limpopo Economic Development Agency, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and the Messina Mercado SEZ entity. We've already received confirmation of the attendance of the MEC, as well as the HOD of the provincial department who will be there. Then we will drive 1 hour and about 19 minutes to Mercado, and there we will meet at the Mercado local municipality, which will be assisting us with the venue. And at the Mercado local municipality, we will be meeting with the Vembe district municipality, the Mercado local municipality, and the Messina local municipality. In attendance at that meeting will also be the DTIC, Messina Mercado SEZ entity, as well as the provincial department. And then on Thursday, we're sleeping over in Mercado. And then on Friday is when we are actually going to be conducting site visits, because the Messina Mercado has actually got 2 sites. There's a southern site in Mercado, and then there's a northern site in Messina, which is literally on the border of Limpopo and Zimbabwe. So it's quite a drive. So the site visits are to the 2 SEZ sites on Friday, and then we plan to sleep over in Polokwane the Friday night, and then depart from Polokwane to Johannesburg Saturday morning, and then from there, members will return back to their provinces. If Amanda can maybe just provide an update on the logistics.
Thank you, my dear. I would like to believe that all members, except Honorable Farmer, the flights have been booked for Thursday morning, coming back on Saturday. I'm still awaiting from the travel agent to confirm accommodation for Polokwane, but the one for Mercado has been confirmed, and Mercado will be sleeping in Musina Hotel and Conference. It's sleeping on the 31st and checking out on the 1st. In Polokwane, I'm hoping we get the Protea, the ranch, that's the one that I've booked, but I'm waiting for the travel agent to confirm it. But it's, on our side, it has been booked, depending on the space availability. But if there's no space, then I'll have to look for alternative accommodation. So, and the staff members, there's 2 staff members that are still awaiting confirmation on their flights. And actually not all, one leg of the flight, the one from Cape Town to Johannesburg has been booked, but from Johannesburg to Polokwane, they are waitlisted, and we're hoping that they will get flights by Wednesday. Thank you, Chair.
Can I note you, can I just ask, if the person is waitlisted and with the minimum flights from Joburg to Polokwane, what happens to that staff member?
Thank you, Chair. They will have to use an alternative flight. But Madia was also waitlisted and he got space. So I'm optimistic that they will get it.
Okay. Chair, we do have contingency measures in place because we understand the importance of obviously ensuring that the entire delegation travels and is there on time for the meetings. So the contingency measure that we have in place is in the event that staff do not get flights on the Thursday morning, we are actually going to have staff fly the Wednesday already, so that we can already we can already be in Polokwane by the time members arrive. So that is, but I mean, like Amanda said, while certain staff members are waitlisted, flights are also becoming available. So we also don't want to make that arrangement too early and then incur unnecessary expenditure.
Okay, thank you for that. I see Honourable Nodada, Honourable Modise.
Thank you, Chair. My question was that in the morning, since we are leaving at 6 o'clock, is there any transport to take us from our villages, or we'll see on our own how do we go to the airport? Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I wanted to lobby you when I received an email yesterday, but I only saw it when I got home late last night. I am deployed to Pan-African Parliament starting from tomorrow until the 28th. and it's in Midrand. Midrand. So I was wondering if it's inconvenience that when we finish on the 28th, which I don't know what time and all of that, I don't have to fly back to Cape Town, only to fly back to Johannesburg and connect to Polokwane. That I'd rather wait for the delegation already in Johannesburg. So on the 31st, when you land around 8 in the morning, I'll be at the airport and then join the delegation to fly to Polokwane. And if there is a meeting on the 29th, I don't know what day is the 29th. Is it?
No, we fly on the 30th.
31st.
The 29th, 31st. The 29th is a Tuesday.
Okay.
And the 30th
30th
is
is
Wednesday
Wednesday.
when we do the schedule. When are you going to PAP?
Tomorrow. I'm supposed to leave tomorrow morning.
Until?
Until the 28th. So I suppose 28th is Monday. And then the 29th is Tuesday, 30th, 31st. Okay. But I was thinking that I don't have to fly back to Cape Town. I want to
I
fly
hear
back
ya.
to Johannesburg and so on and so forth. If it's not inconvenient.
Can you liaise with him just to get the date so that we can maybe cancel a flight or whatever?
Oh,
So-
okay. I
Yeah.
because I learned that there are also debates scheduled for the 29th.
29th is small
Okay,
business.
Yeah, no, let's so it kancane. If I'm not on the list, then I will not come to. But if I'm there, I can't debate on virtual.
All right, we need to cancel flights timeously.
Okay, no, let me come back. Let's not inconvenience
All right, so we're not
anyone.
going to,
no,
can-
let's
yeah,
not inconvenience-
otherwise
yeah.
it's going to be a
No,
fruitless
then-
and wasteful
let's not
expenditure.
inconvenience anyone. Okay, it's fine. I was not aware of the debate. All right.
Yeah, remember the minister can't be available tomorrow, small business, and then they moved it to the 29th. Okay. Thanks. What do you say? Amanda, Honorable Nodada's question?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, there is transport organized for members from the parks to the airport, and for yourself and Honorable Farmer from the airport to the parks, yes, on our return. Thank you.
All right, members, if you haven't indicated your house number, just send that to Amanda so that she knows. And can you give us a time of when we will be picked up? Because it will have to be around about 4 o'clock because it's luggage that has to be weighed in. Yeah, Vuga, early. Modise? Well, that's when I go to bed. All right, now, Honourable Pina has touched on something. We're going to put Modise in charge of Honourable Mabilu to be on time. Okay, Honourable Farmer.
Chairperson, just to check, have we heard anything yet from the study tours things?
Thank you for that. Mardia can answer us on that. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Farmer, we are just trying to find appropriate dates because we were looking at the dates and looking at the Japanese parliament and when they are in session, their dates are pretty much aligned to our dates. So we were thinking of maybe going during a recess period, but if we go during a recess period, then it's also their recess period. So we are busy with that process. We're just trying to find an appropriate date. And one that also recognizes the kind of cultural festivals happening on that side. So as soon as we finalize those details, then we'll definitely liaise with members in that regard.
Better, Honourable Farmer.
I'm happy with the answer, I guess, but there's just other stuff also coming up that's why I'm asking, but it's fine.
It is very difficult to arrange trips abroad so that it aligns with our programs. And then if you do go in recess time, you could have problems with your provinces because they feel it's constituency time. So one has to balance it very well. Okay.
Mr. Farmer, if to be To be totally frank, I don't think it's going to be anticipated that it's going to be within this financial year. Because even if we plan to go in January next year, which we were thinking of, that is also a time where the Japanese parliament and the country of Japan has got their own festivals going on. So it's unlikely it's going to be in this current financial year. But I mean, if anything changes, we will definitely notify members.
Thank you very much. Honourable Dlamini.
Thanks, Chair. I was saying I supported the view that we align our program, parliamentary program, with the one of Japan, because it will be worth it for us to go when they are on duty. We also want to experience the Parliament of Japan, how they work. So during the recess, it will be just like a holiday. Thanks, Chair.
Maybe it will do us good to have a holiday. That's not to be minuted. Members, that's it from my side, and thank you once again for your engagements with the UIF. I think they are trying to get going and come to the party, and with that, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.